My parents tried to hand my inheritance to their favorite daughter, sneering, "You deserve nothing." But my grandparents said, "Just wait," and their confidence collapsed. Picture this, the moment you finally realize that for your entire life, you've been a secondary character in your own family's story. And then, when a chance for true independence finally arrives, the very people who should cheer you on actively conspire to steal it from you. That's my story, and it's even wilder than you think. Our house always had this strange, suffocating atmosphere, especially around the dinner table. It felt less like a home and more like a stage where a quiet, deeply unfair drama played out day after day for decades. Ethan, was the understudy, forever waiting in the wings while my sister Chloe basked in the spotlight. From the time I was a little kid, it was clear Chloe was the golden child. I was just me. I remember my 5th birthday, Chloe's 2nd. She had an elaborate party, professional face painters, a bouncy castle, even a petting zoo. Mine that same year, a store-bought cake and a quiet family supper. That pretty much set the tone. As we grew up, the differences only sharpened. Chloe got the newest toys, the best clothes, all the attention. When I was 10, I saved up months of allowance for a new bike. Chloe saw it, threw a fit because she wanted one, and instead of teaching her patience, my parents immediately bought her an even nicer one. Just like that. School was no different. My parents were at every single one of Chloe's functions. Mine? Not so much. In 4th grade, I landed a lead role in the school play. I practiced for weeks, absolutely buzzing with excitement. Opening night, they showed up an hour late, missing my big scene. Why? They were consoling Chloe, who'd suddenly developed a stomach ache, which magically disappeared when they were done playing with her. They'd just lost track of time. Academically, nothing I did ever seemed good enough. I joined the math club, pulled straight A's in middle school, even took 1st place in a regional science fair. My parents barely noticed. But when Chloe, who barely scraped by, got a B+ on one test in her weakest subject, she got a celebratory dinner and a brand new phone. For encouragement, to keep getting better. High school was a brutal quest for their approval. I kept a 4 GPA, edited the school paper, captained the debate team. Chloe, she coasted, barely maintaining a C average, mostly just hanging out with friends. When I was chosen as one of 2 juniors from my university for a prestigious summer program at Harvard, I was ecstatic. I told them at supper, practically beaming. My dad just grumbled and changed the subject to Chloe's upcoming dance performance. My mom managed a quick, "Oh, that's nice," before moving on. The night I left for Harvard, my parents couldn't take me to the airport. Chloe had a recital. I had to ask a friend's parents for a ride. Again, college applications were another agonizing ordeal. I poured months into essays, extracurriculars, SAT prep. I got into several elite schools, even snagged a sizable scholarship to my dream university. I shared the news, hoping for, I don't know, pride. My dad's reaction was a dismissive, "That's good, but don't let it go to your head. Colleges aren't everything." And my mom chimed in with, "Just remember us when you're off becoming a big shot." Meanwhile, when Chloe barely passed high school and opted out of college entirely, my parents were overflowing with praise. They admired her for knowing herself, for defying social expectations. Things they never said about me. They even bought her a brand new car as a graduation gift. Emotionally, this relentless favoritism took a massive toll. Through my teens and early 20s, I battled anxiety and depression. I started therapy in college, and it was there I began to understand that their actions weren't my fault. It took years of conscious effort to build my self-esteem, to learn to validate myself instead of constantly chasing their elusive approval. Despite my immediate family, I clawed my way to a decent life. I graduated college with honors, secured a good job in finance, and by 27, I even bought my own home. My parents aren't proud of my accomplishments, but for the first time I am. And that, my friends, is where the real drama began. Not long ago, my grandfather, my dad's father, passed away. He was a self-made man, a successful businessman, and he left a substantial estate. In his will, he split his possessions equally among his children, my dad and his siblings, and all his grandchildren, including me and Chloe. My portion was significant, roughly 500,000. It was a windfall, a chance to invest in my future, pay off my student loans, maybe even start my own company someday. I was genuinely thrilled, buzzing with the possibilities. But when the will was read, my parents visibly bristled. Later, they pulled me aside. "Ethan," my mom started, her voice laced with what sounded like concern but felt like accusation. "We feel it's just unfair. Unfair that I received an equal share." Chloe, who at 25 was still living in their basement and working part-time at a coffee shop, needed the money more, because she was suffering. I was stunned, utterly floored. But I tried to stay calm. I explained that Grandpa made his own decisions. How he chose to distribute his wealth was entirely up to him. They insisted I should do the right thing and give Chloe my entire portion. When I refused, they exploded. They became absolutely enraged, guilt-tripping me relentlessly. They called me unappreciative, selfish. My dad dredged up every single incident he could remember where they had helped. Me paying for my medically necessary braces, buying school supplies, letting me live at home during college. He conveniently forgot the car they bought Chloe, the endless shopping sprees, the fact that they were still supporting her at 25 years old. The situation escalated fast. My dad, who was appointed as the will's executor, declared he would handle things himself. He said he would interpret Grandpa's intentions and give my entire share to Chloe. He actually said, Grandpa would have wished it if he'd known your unique situation. I was broken. This wasn't just illegal, it was a gut punch, a stark reminder of how little my parents valued me. I tried to reason with them, pointing out that Grandpa had always treated all his grandchildren equally, and he was aware of our circumstances. My mother then accused me of speaking ill of the deceased, by implying Grandpa would have wanted anything other than my dad's plan. I even brought up specific memories of Grandpa encouraging my academic and career goals, but they brushed them off as misinterpretation. They claimed Grandpa had privately voiced worry about Chloe's future and wanted to ensure she was taken care of. When I asked why he hadn't simply written the will that way, they had no answer. Chloe, for her part, was awkward about the whole thing, but she never voiced any criticism of our parents. When I tried to talk to her alone, she just shrugged and said, Mom and Dad know best. Clearly, I wasn't getting any help from her. Feeling utterly misled and wounded, I reached out to Grandpa's widow, my paternal grandma, for guidance. Hearing what was happening, she became enraged. She told me my parents had absolutely no authority to alter the will and that this was exactly not what Grandpa had intended. Grandma then dropped a bombshell. She sent me some documentation clarifying the matter apparently. Years ago, my parents had tried to convince Grandpa to leave everything to Chloe in his will. Grandpa had steadfastly refused, insisting all his grandchildren be treated equally. He'd even included a stipulation in his will declaring that anyone challenging the equitable distribution would lose their own portion. Armed with this knowledge, I confronted my parents. Grandma's disclosure of their earlier attempt to manipulate the will startled them. My dad tried to defend it, stammering that they were only looking out for Chloe's future. But I could see the guilt etched on their faces. Grandma didn't waste any time. She contacted the will's other co-executors and the attorney. She also got in touch with my dad's siblings, who shared her equally strong indignation at his attempted scheme. Together, they put a stop to my dad's plan and ensured the will would be carried out exactly as stated. My parents were forced to back off, but they were furious with me. They argued I should have handled this in-house instead of involving others, accusing me of turning the family against them. My mother sobbed, saying I had split the family and deceived them. I remember just looking at her, feeling a cold calm wash over me and saying, I never expected anything from you anyway. My dad then threatened to cut me out of their will entirely if I accepted the inheritance. They threatened to break off all communication. My dad even went so far as to suggest I wouldn't be welcome in their house if I inherited the money. In a particularly low blow, my mother remarked that my acceptance of the money revealed that I never truly loved them and was merely ready to profit from their passing. This whole ordeal ripped through the extended family. A few cousins were incredibly supportive, understanding the long-standing favoritism and valuing me for standing up for myself. Others believed I should have just yielded for family peace. My dad's siblings were squarely on my side, but it deeply strained their relationship with my parents. Chloe, despite all this, found herself enmeshed. She confided in me privately that she felt bad and hadn't asked for this, but she wasn't ready to challenge our parents. She'd been conditioned her whole life to depend on them and seek their praise, so I didn't blame her entirely. Still, a part of me longed for her to stand up for me, just once. This circumstance unearthed a lifetime of suffering and bitterness. I found myself remembering all the times I was overlooked or dismissed in favor of Chloe, the missed birthdays, the school functions my parents skipped, the successes that went unnoticed. This one incident, it seemed, brought to a head a lifetime of unfairness. Even though the whole affair caused a huge rift in the family, I held my ground. I decided to take my inheritance just as Grandpa intended. My parents barely spoke to me, and family get-togethers became incredibly awkward. I even missed our monthly family meal for the first time ever because I just couldn't stomach the cold shoulders and accusing glares. Though there was turmoil, a tiny part of me felt empowered. For the first time in my life, I was confronting the unfair treatment from my parents. I was declaring my value, refusing to be written off. It was both terrible and incredibly freeing. I knew I was in the right, but the family drama was draining me in a way I hadn't experienced since college. I started having anxiety attacks again, and I began thinking about returning to therapy to help cope with the stress. A lot has happened since I first shared my story 6 months ago. I want to thank all of you for your support and guidance. It truly kept me strong through some incredibly trying times. First, the legal aspect. Many of you advised it, and I did see my own attorney. He verified that I had every right to my inheritance and that what my dad attempted was, in fact, illegal. He helped me document everything and was ready to act legally if needed. Fortunately, it didn't come to that. Grandma, along with my dad's siblings and her attorney, worked things out without involving the courts. I received my full inheritance, and the will was carried out exactly as intended. As for my dad, because of his attempted will manipulation, he was removed as an executor. This was a demanding process, spanning several weeks. My parents threatened litigation. There were tense meetings and furious phone calls, but ultimately, the law was unambiguous, and they had to back off. The family fallout, though, has been significant and is still ongoing. At first, my parents doubled down, accusing me of being avaricious and neglectful of my sister. They tried to mobilize other family members against me, spreading allegations that I had somehow coerced Grandpa into giving me money. Luckily, most of the family saw through their trickery. About a month after the will was settled, there was a truly unpleasant incident at a family gathering. My aunt was hosting, and my parents showed up unannounced. They hadn't been invited. They started a scene, shouting about how I had taken from Chloe and corrupted Grandma. My dad began yelling that I had ruined all these wonderful memories, and my mother even flung an old photo album squarely at my feet. It was awkward, it was terrible, and it took several relatives to calm things down and persuade my parents to leave. Bless her heart, my grandmother turned out to be my most powerful supporter through all of this. She shared stories of how my grandfather had always been incredibly proud of my achievements, and how he especially wanted to ensure all his grandchildren had equal opportunities. She even revealed that Grandpa had kept a scrapbook of my accomplishments, newspaper clippings of academic honors, copies of my college acceptance letters, and even the program from that university play my parents had been late for. This insight was both heartbreaking and wonderful. Grandma also volunteered to set the record straight with the wider family. She organized another family gathering, deliberately excluding my parents, and laid out the entire history of my parents' partiality, including events I had long forgotten or never even known about. Having someone finally acknowledge the unfairness I had gone through for years was incredibly vindicating, but it also reopened old scars. And then there's Chloe. She finally found her voice. She came to me personally and apologized for not sticking up for me earlier. After some soul-searching and several long talks with our grandmother, she admitted that she knew our parents' preference was improper, but she had been too terrified to confront it. We discussed our childhood, how it influenced both of us, in great length and emotional intensity. Chloe admitted that being the favorite child wasn't as wonderful as it seemed. She'd never learned how to stand on her own 2 feet and felt immense pressure to live up to our parents' expectations. She shared stories of times she yearned to accomplish things on her own, but our parents would swoop in and handle everything for her, depriving her of the opportunity to develop and learn from her own mistakes. This talk marked a sea change in our relationship. We began to mend the sibling bond our parents' partiality had broken. Now, just the two of us have been routinely meeting for coffee, discussing and encouraging one another through this family crisis. Then, Chloe declared that she was going to pay for college with her inheritance. It astonished everyone. She claimed that seeing me stand up for myself motivated her to start managing her own life. Once she decided what she wanted to study, she registered in a nearby community college first, intending to transfer to a 4-year university. Our parents let out startled gasps. I think they knew deep down that their babying hadn't done Chloe any favors. The response of my parents to all this has been diverse and changing. They first attacked both of us angrily. They even tried to guilt Chloe into quitting college to help the family, claiming I had turned her against them. When that proved ineffective, they changed strategy. After several protracted talks with my grandmother and seeing Chloe's incredible transformation, my mother began to recognize how damaging their actions had been. She has made some hesitant moves toward reconciliation, even beginning therapy to address her own issues. She reached out to apologize, owning that she had been unfair and requesting a chance to make things right. It's a slow process, and while I'm gently hopeful, I'm also keeping strong limits. Sadly, my dad has been less likely to own any mistakes. Still furious, he feels as though he is the victim in all this. He has been chilly toward Chloe since she chose to go to college and hardly speaks to me. He has tried a few times to control us, threatening to sell our childhood house should we fail to come to our senses, or forgiving us should we realize we were wrong. Although we are both standing strong, it hurts to see him distance both of his children like this. The dynamics among the extended family have changed dramatically. I now have closer relationships with my dad's siblings, who have been incredibly supportive, and hearing from my aunts and uncles about handling my dad's challenging behavior over the years has lessened my loneliness in this fight. Deeper bonds with some of my cousins who stood by me have also developed. We've even started a monthly cousin meal, allowing us to all catch up, free from the drama of the older generations. For myself, I have been making sensible use of my inheritance. Having paid off my college loans, I now feel an amazing degree of financial freedom. Working with a financial advisor, I've assembled a varied investment portfolio. I've also set aside some funds to maybe launch my own company someday. Opening a community center with reasonably priced mental health treatments and financial literacy seminars is something I'm actively investigating. But for me, paying for therapy for myself and volunteering to do the same for Chloe has been the most significant application of the money. Both of us are learning to set reasonable limits with our parents and are working on healing from our childhood events. Though it's a long road, I already feel as though I'm developing in knowledge and ability to overcome emotional neglect and long-term partiality. This whole process has brought some surprising, positive improvements into my life. I now know a great deal about establishing limits and defending myself. Though I know I did the right thing, it hasn't been easy, and there are still difficult days. I feel good about myself for resisting guilt and pressure. Among the most unexpected results has been a shift in my work path. Dealing with all this family conflict and undergoing therapy has helped me to see my own passion for supporting people who have gone through similar family dynamics. I'm currently thinking about returning to school to specialize in adult children of emotionally immature parents and work as a family therapist. I have also been helping youngsters from challenging family homes at a nearby youth facility. Being able to offer the kind of encouragement and support I wish I had had as a youngster is immensely satisfying. I'm even considering creating a scholarship fund for children from similar circumstances using some of my inheritance. My connection with Chloe continues to get better. Once a month, we have a siblings day where we do something fun, just the two of us. Our hiking and picnic last month was the most laid back and connected we felt since we were small children. Without our parents' influence, we are gently reconstructing our connection on our own terms. Regarding my parents, things remain tricky. My mom has been trying to rebuild our relationship. She has been routinely attending therapy and has even begun to see some of the damage her favoritism brought about. We've had a few one-on-one lunches where we've had some honest, though challenging, talks regarding our past and moving forward. Though it's not flawless, improvement is evident. My dad still objects to change. He still says he did nothing illegal and that Chloe and I should be appreciative. He refuses to be in the same room with me, hence missing several family functions. Though it hurts, I am trying to let go of my need to compel him to see things differently or control his reactions. For both Chloe and me, Grandma now serves as a rock. She has been sharing additional tales about our grandfather and his pride in us for advocating for ourselves. She always supports justice and understanding, thus she has been a fantastic mediator in family problems. The whole process has imparted a lot of lessons about the actual meaning of family. I've come to see that occasionally the family you select might be more encouraging than the one you were raised in. Along with developing a close-knit circle of friends who have been incredibly helpful along this journey, I have grown closer to my aunts, uncles, and cousins who stood by me. Setting limits and practicing self-care have also become more crucial to me. I'm growing better at saying no to circumstances that compromise my mental health, and I no longer feel bad about giving my personal well-being top priority. I was so preoccupied with trying to achieve my parents' favor that I had always put off investigating new interests and hobbies. To those in similar circumstances, I would advise, don't let someone make you feel bad about getting what is rightfully yours, even if it generates controversy. It's reasonable to defend yourself. Though family dynamics might be complex, you deserve fair treatment. Remember, it's never too late to begin developing the life you are due. See a therapist if necessary. Surround yourself with encouraging people and don't hesitate to establish limits. Who you are personally defines your value, not how your family treats you. Thank you once more for your suggestions and encouragement. It meant more than you would have known during a really trying period. Although the road has not been simple, I am excited about the future and confident in a self-assurance I haven't experienced in years. Where this new chapter of my life will lead excites me, and I am resolved to stop the pattern of favoritism and build better relationships in my own future family. I'm still navigating this incredibly complex family dynamic. If you've gone through something similar, or if you have any thoughts on how to handle a parent who refuses to acknowledge their mistakes, I'd really love to hear your perspective in the comments below. Do you think there's still hope for my dad, or should I accept his choices and move on entirely?